Welcome to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Kieft in the studios of our flagship stations, 89.3 Lakes FM and Civic Center TV on Comcast Channel 15 and AT&T Channel 99. We can also find us in the Birmingham-Bloomfield area, on Birmingham Area Municipal Access, and on City Cable 15 of Southfield. Join us live on Channel 10 in Waterford every day on the Media Network of Waterford, and live to tape on Channel 10 in Orion Township and Lake Orion on Orion Neighborhood Television, otherwise known as ONTV. That's what the cool kids call it out there in Lake Orion and Orion Township. You can also find us on the radio in the Birmingham, Bloomfield, and Troy areas on the BIF 88.1 WBFH, the BIF Radio Network, a service of the Bloomfield Hills School District. Find us online in a few different places, on our Facebook pages at Civic Center TV 15 and at Lakes FM, on our website at civiccentertv.com, and on My Michigan TV or MyMy at mymytv.com. That's MYMITV.com. We can learn more about downloading their free apps for your smartphones and smart TVs. Take My Michigan TV home with you, and on the road, Michigan's always in your pocket with the free MyTV app. All that information's on our website at civiccentertv.com/megacast, where you'll find information on all of our programs, find us on demand, and learn more about all of our partnering TV, radio, and web outlets. Then let's head over to our news page at civiccentertv.com/local-news, where we have links to the most up-to-date information on COVID-19 from reliable expert resources at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention in Atlanta, Georgia, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, and the Oakland County Health Division to help keep you up to date on everything that you need to know about the spread of COVID-19, precautionary tactics such as masking and vaccinations and booster shots. Also on our page, we feature articles often from many journalistic outlets all across the state of Michigan to keep you updated on COVID-19 and other top stories. Today, we're going to do something special and explore all that is making news in one of our partnering communities on the Oakland County Megacast. Let's head over to City Cable 15 and hear from Jim Hall about what's going on in Southfield.
Now here's a look at what's coming up in this edition of 15 News. The focus on domestic violence is taking center stage, all thanks to one local writer and director. She'll walk us through this thought-provoking performance and why we need to look beyond gender stereotypes when it comes to abuse. Then we catch up with our friends from Sleep in Heavenly Peace to check out their latest effort in providing Metro Detroit youth with a simple item that many of us take for granted. And we've got some great news for those living and commuting in the Beach Road area. Our city engineer gives us an update about the current road projects and a construction forecast for the months ahead. You can catch all this and more coming up in this edition of 15 News. According to national research, nearly 10 million people have experienced domestic violence. After experiencing domestic violence, Paris Medley set out to use her talents to bring attention to this hot-button topic.
Sometimes we feel like just women get abused, but that's not the case. Men are abusers too, and I'm shedding light on both aspects as far as the gay community and the straight community.
I would never be with a man. Would you look at me up and down? You think I would really be with you for nothing? The only reason I'm with you because I know that my investment would double over time.
I want it to be clear that it doesn't matter what your occupation is. It doesn't matter what role you play. Abuse is everywhere. It's just not one way.
Medley is the writer, director, and producer of Why Won't They Leave, which features separate stories of domestic violence, ranging from physical to financial abuse, while highlighting different types of relationships and genders.
So many times domestic violence, it can end up, sometimes they leave and sometimes they're not able to leave. Sometimes it ends up tragic.
Do you understand me? Please make sure. Do you understand? Yes.
They will feel the actors and actresses. They will feel the abuse. They will feel the counselor talking to her employees saying to get out and what she went through. They will feel every emotion that's on this stage. From every actor. I have an all-star cast, amazing group of people. And some of my cast members have experienced abuse before. So it makes it a little more real.
You think we're just gonna separate after everything I've given up and invested in?
Oh my God, there you go, again, talking about what you have invested. This is a marriage, Maxine.
For more information about Why Won't They Leave and Paris Medley, head to her Paris Medley page on YouTube. Hundreds of kids in the Metro Detroit area either share a bed or sleep without one. Thankfully, there's a nonprofit organization that helps with this problem, Sleep in Heavenly Peace.
So what's going on today is we're taking raw lumber that we got from Lowe's and we're cutting it, we're sanding it, we're drilling it, then we're screwing it together and we're making beds. And these beds will go into homes, so kids that are sleeping on the floor or sharing a bed with a family member. And we have about 100 volunteers here. And our goal today is to make 50 beds. With the bed build process, since we started in April 2018, we've built and delivered over 525 beds. And as an organization, we've built and delivered over 100,000 beds. And we really have a need for more chapters in Metro Detroit. When we leave our request line open, the requests flood in. We can't keep up with the need, and you know, it's really tough being the only chapter here in Metro Detroit.
To make a donation to the Michigan Wayne County chapter of Sleep in Heavenly Peace, go to shpbeds.org.
Hi, this is Sandra again, and I have been getting so many questions about plastics, plastic bags. What do we do with them? We don't want them at the facility. So we are going to tell you how you can recycle them. Plastics like this bag I used for picking up vegetables at my local grocer, this can go back to my local grocer for recycle. Grab your plastic trash bag and just put it in there, start filling it up, and you can take it right back to the grocery store. Ziploc bags, they will accept those. Bread bags, clean those out, shake out the crumbs, put it in there. Celery comes in a bag, you can put that in there. These types of packaging materials with the gray inside from Amazon, or this from thrift books, or maybe you get prescriptions in them, just cut off the paper with your address, throw that in the trash, and you can recycle this at your local grocer. Cereal bag inserts, again, shake out the crust and the dust, and you can put that in your plastics recycling. The wrap, air bubble pillows that come in packaging can go in there. You squeeze out all the air, cut a hole in them, get rid of all that air, and bubble wrap can go in, unless you want to keep that and pop it, that's always fun. And the wrap around your toilet paper rolls or Gatorade can or Gatorade bottles, water bottles, they all have this plastic wrap. That can go with that program. And the pesky little 6-pack plastic carriers. We ask that you cut them apart to help our wildlife in case they do get their hands on it, but that can go in. So I take this bag of these, what we call flexible packaging, to my grocer, Meijer. And interesting enough, Meijer has worked with a company here in Michigan to use these plastics in their pavement for one of their stores in Holland for their very own parking lot. That does it for this time. Don't forget, if you have any questions, you can visit rosoc.org.
Great news! The Beach Road project will be completed in June of this year. There are also other projects slated to begin this summer. City Engineer Lee Schultz brings us up to date on all the road projects.
So for 2022 new projects, we have approximately $18 million worth of new investments, mostly roads, some water main work. The first project that's going to start up is going to be on Shiawassee. It's all of Shiawassee that's going to be rehabilitated. West of Beach, it's going to be asphalt rehabilitation. East of Beach Road, it's going to be concrete slab repairs. Nice amenity that's going in with that project west of Beach. There's going to be a new multi-use asphalt pathway built on the south side of Shiawassee between Inkster and Beach Road. So that'll be a nice amenity, I think, for the neighborhood so people can get out and safely walk along Shiawassee. That's a $2.8 million project right there.
Okay, spring has sprung, and we know what that means. With great weather comes some rainy days and some muddy ground, and that gives us some muddy dogs walking through the door. And the last thing we want is that mud being tracked through the entire house. So there's some things that we can do to combat that. You know, we want our dogs to get out there and have a good time, and of course we can't avoid them needing to go out even when it's raining just to go to the bathroom. So that mud is going to happen. So when mud happens, you want to have something that you can intercept them with at the door. We've got some solutions. One of them happens to be the Dirty Dog doormat. Now, the Dirty Dog doormat is a fantastic mat that really is literally the size of a doormat. It has this fine little microfiber material in it that's 5 to 10 times more absorbent than regular towel. Does a really good job of absorbing the moisture. You also can use it as a towel when you catch a dog at the door to wipe down the mud on its legs and its feet. It works really, really well. My dog loves it. He knows to stay and stop right at the door so I can wipe him down. The next thing is the Mud Buster. This is pretty cool. This is something that you fill up with warm water and a little bit of dish soap. You leave it right at the door. And what you can do is just stick the entire paw and the leg in there, and you swish it around and shake it up and down, and it gets the extra mud and debris out of there. This thing will be really gross, but you'd rather have it be gross inside here than throughout your entire house. And of course, in any of our stores, we've got tons of grooming wipes for in between baths and shampoos, and we do have your do-it-yourself dog wash baths in the store as well. So let's allow those dogs to continue to have a great time outside, but keep the house clean at the same time.
Lori again from Poet Animal Rescue. Today we are featuring Odyssey. She is a pit mix, 2.5 years old, and she is absolutely wonderful. I take her to the store with me. She's great in the car. She's great waiting in the car. She's fun, loving, wants to be your lap dog, as you can tell. I think with the right introduction, she might be okay with another dog. Or being the only dog she would be great with too. We've had her about, I don't know, maybe 2 months, month and a half. She's been fixed, she's up to date on shots, and she's ready for her forever home. So if you're looking for the perfect dog, totally housebroken, fun, active, loves everything, and that's about it. She's ready to go, and you will absolutely not be disappointed. All right, guys? Again, we're always looking for help. We're looking for volunteers. Take care of these beautiful dogs. Also looking for donations. Right now we're looking for detergent, either Tide or Gain. We're looking for Clorox bleach. And always looking for financial donations. Help us with our 2 heartworm positive dogs that we have. So again, thank you for listening, and hope to talk to you soon. Bye.
There's always time for a workout, even if you're sitting at home on the couch or sitting behind a desk at work. Our friends at Surgeon's Choice show us exercises that you can fit in anytime.
The first exercise we're going to talk about is called a seated knee lift. As you can see, I'm sitting on a fully inflated yoga ball, and my hands will be at my side. With your knees bent, you're going to lift your legs off of the ground, hold, and bring it back down, just like this. Now, if that was too easy for you, you can always add an ankle weight. If that was too hard for you, you can always sit in a chair with good back support. The second exercise we're going to talk about is called a seated ab crunch. Again, I'm sitting on a fully inflated yoga ball, but this time my hands will be behind my head. Make sure you have the ability to kind of walk your legs out, lean back, and then lean forward. Now, we recommend that you do this about 10 times, 1 to 2 sets for beginners, and as you feel more comfortable, you can progress. If this was too easy for you, then you can always lay back down on a mat and do a complete full ab crunch. If this was too hard for you, then you can move your hands out in front of you like this or at your side. All right, next we're going to talk about strengthening exercises for your upper body. Of course, we all hear biceps and triceps, but how do you actually get them stronger? Biceps, we're using a 2-pound weight. All we're doing is curls. So you're going to hold the weight in your hand and lift all the way to your shoulder and bring it all the way back down to your knees. just like this. Now, if this is too easy for you, of course we can increase the weights. If this is too hard for you, we can eliminate the weights. Next is the triceps. So here, our starting position is with your hand bent behind your head, and you extend up with the weight and back down. Again, we recommend that you start with 10 repetitions with each exercise, 1 to 2 sets, and as you feel more comfortable, we'll progress. Last, we're gonna talk about lower body strengthening exercises. As you can see, I've got 1-pound weights around my ankle, and again, I'm seated on a yoga ball with my knees bent. This exercise is called the long arc quad. All you're doing is kicking out from the knee, toes up, holding for a few seconds, and bringing it right back down. Again, straightening that knee, toes up to the ceiling, holding, and then slowly returning to your starting point. Okay? Now, if this is too hard, you can remove the weights. If this is too easy, we can upgrade the weights. The last exercise we're going to talk about is hip flexion or marching. So again, seated position, ankle weights down below, lifting one at a time. Now you can do this alternating, both legs, or you can do 10 repetitions with one leg, and then completely switch to the other side. 1 to 2 sets, as we mentioned earlier, and as you get stronger, we can upgrade that amount. Thanks for joining us today at Surgeon's Choice Medical Center.
World Medical Relief is hosting health days to provide tests and vaccines to increase our chances of combating COVID-19.
We have the Wayne Health Mobile Unit, and they are, among other things, doing some basic health screenings, including screenings for blood pressure and cholesterol, and they're doing all manner of COVID-related medical type things. You can get tested, you can get your initial shot, you can get boosters, and you can even get your second booster if you are 55 and older or immunocompromised.
That brings us to an end to this edition of 15 News. You can re-watch this episode on Facebook, YouTube, or on our channel. I'm Jim Hall. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, Jim. Appreciate it. City Cable 15 of Southfield's 15 News Update. You can learn more about News Update, watch it every single week, and find more programming from Southfield live and on demand by clicking on their link at civiccentertv.com/megacast. It says City Cable 15. It'll take you to City Cable 15 of Southfield's page. We appreciate them joining us on this edition and every edition of the Oakland County and Michigan Megacasts. Let's move on. Our next guest is the owner of Canterbury Village in Lake Orion. Joins us now once again on the Megacast. We are joined by Keith Aldridge. Keith, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you. How's everything going?
Going pretty well over here. How are things at Canterbury Village?
Good. A little technical difficulties this morning with the computer. That technology gets you sometimes.
It does. It's been going around. So it's one of those days, but we live, we learn, and we move on. So let's begin with some of the fun over at Canterbury Village, because it's not the technical difficulties that are the fun part. It's events like Michigan Kids Fest that's coming pretty soon, June 11th and June 12th. Tell us about Kids Fest and how people can get involved.
Oh, we have, obviously you can go to Canterbury Village and buy tickets for it, but the lineup that we have this weekend, we have a Circus Olay show. It's going to be super cool for the kids. All kinds of magicians, monster truck rides. We got these characters that we just got from, they just came yesterday, and our staff dressed up in these little characters. And it is the coolest thing ever. You might see some video on Facebook already with them on our carousel going around and around. It's just something, stuff we do at Canterbury. Last weekend was our mega food truck rally. We had 28 food trucks out here. We did about 5,000 people. It was unbelievable. And then obviously Kids Fest this weekend, and then Pirates and Princesses the weekend after. So our calendar is quite robust this summer at Canterbury.
We're joined by Canterbury Village owner Keith Aldridge on the Oakland County Megacast. More information can be found on Canterbury Village's website, which is canterburyvillage.com. That's canterburyvillage.com for more information on all of their upcoming events. And so after Kids Weekend, the next week over, we go from events all for the kids to kind of for everybody, for those pirate and princess lovers. You have a pirate and princess fair also coming up. Tell us about that event and how people can participate.
Well, obviously, once again, you can go to CanterburyVillage.com, but the lineup of entertainment for Pirates and Princess Fest is unbelievable. Actually, I'm going to hopefully get a chuckle out of this, but Pirate get up already. I don't know what this is, but my team bought it and said put it.
Looks like we're having some issues with Keith's audio there. We just lost his audio. I don't know if he got muted or something happened on that end. But again, Pirates and Princess Fair is coming to Canterbury Village June 18th and 19th. Again, tickets can be found at canterburyvillage.com. That's canterburyvillage.com. The sessions are Saturday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. and 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. Sunday, 12 noon until 4 p.m. Keith, do we have your audio again? Let's try it back with him.
Yep. Am I there now?
Yes, we're hearing you. So go ahead and continue on telling us about the Pirate and Princess Fair coming up in a couple of weeks.
Well, you can see my giddy up that the team got me to wear for interviews, so it's kind of cool. But what's really special is, since we bought Canterbury Village a few years ago, we've done obviously a lot of events, and one of the things that we wanted to get off the ground was our own princess. So Canterbury Village will be introducing our real live own princess, Princess Jocelyn, during that event. We have the dress made. We have a great princess. It's really going to be something special. Obviously, we're taking a page out of Disney, but who doesn't want their own princess at obviously our beautiful campus at Canterbury Village? So we're super pumped up about it. I think it's going to be a big deal for years to come at Canterbury.
And what's interesting about these events is it is something for people of all different kinds of interests, different characters, different storylines, different fun for different groups of people, families and individuals alike. How are those events then determined, especially for the summer season, for the warmer seasons of the year, when people are getting outside more often and are looking for these kinds of fun, interactive events in their community?
Well, we just see what people, what kind of genres people like and to do, and we try to theme each weekend for different fun stuff. Obviously, after Pirates and Princess, we have Taco Fest coming up, which has really turned into one of Metro Detroit's biggest events. After that, we have on the fourth weekend, we have Rib Fest coming up, which is, hugely popular. We bring in national guys from all over the country, and the food is delicious. And then we go into medieval. Obviously, we take a page out of kind of Holly's playbook, what they do up there, and they do a great job. But people love our Renaissance Fair, medieval fairs. We started them a few years ago. Last year was a complete sellout, so this year we're going 2 weekends. And then after that, we have Harry Potter weekend, which is kind of a mystical type of genre of people. So all kinds of different stuff out here for Canterbury for a wide audience range, that's for sure.
You can keep up to date on everything happening at Canterbury Village by visiting their website, canterburyvillage.com. That's canterburyvillage.com. We can also get in contact with them over Facebook with a link to their Facebook page. And also coming up there in July 9th and 10th, Cowboys and Cowgirls Festival is also coming to Canterbury Village. So when people are yee-hawing over to Lake Orion, what are they going to be experiencing at that festival?
Well, this is our first Cowboys and Cowgirls event, but the entertainment we have coming from all over the country is really cool. You can get a carriage ride. You can obviously have gunfights and kind of watch reenactments, horses. It's just the videos and stuff online and on Facebook. It's going to be a cool event. I'm actually really looking forward to this. I've been watching that, what's that, one Yellowstone or something on Netflix or Amazon, whatever it is my wife's got me into. I just love the out west thing and the cowboy thing, and I think it's going to be really cool for Canterbury.
Is the sheriff going to show up? I feel like this is one of those events that, we love our sheriff's office, but maybe stay away from the Cowboys and the Cowgirls.
Yeah, we're gonna have Sheriff Sarah and keeping an eye on everybody and keeping things nice and family friendly. That's for sure.
Yeah, just keep an eye on the saloon there during the Cowboys and Cowgirls Festival at Canterbury Village. We're joined by the owner of Canterbury Village, Keith Aldridge, on the Oakland County Megacast. Again, more information can be found on Canterbury Village, and including how you can get tickets for all their events at canterburyvillage.com. In addition to all these events, you also have a mix of shops at Canterbury Village as well. They took quite a hit during the pandemic, and things changed, and that paradigm is completely different than it was 2 years ago at this time, but it's still there. These shops are still in place, and many new ones have showed up as well. Can you tell us about the shops at Canterbury Village and how they're doing at this time, given that things are really ramping back up towards some semblance of what we knew as normal before the pandemic?
Yeah, correct. Obviously, our concept has changed at Canterbury, so we've leased out all the shops to small mom and pop store owners. And, shop small, shop local, shop Canterbury. That's one of our slogans. And we have Yates Cider Mill, which is obviously a staple in Metro Detroit. They do a great job for us. We have some great small boutique type stores with Down the Rabbit Hole, Wooden Tulip, and they're just great, neat places to come and shop. And hey, there's nothing against the big box guys or Amazon, but please come out and support our local community and our local shop owners. And then we have our Made in Michigan market. We have about 55 individual shelves with individual artists that bring their goods to sell. And it's really a neat concept, and the inventory is always changing. And people really seem to like, the buy small, buy Michigan type thing. And that's what Canterbury Village is all about.
We're joined by Keith Aldridge. He is the owner of Canterbury Village. Again, more information on everything happening at Canterbury Village, including their events and their shops, can be found at canterburyvillage.com. Just another couple minutes with you before we'll say goodbye today, Keith. Anything else that's going on at Canterbury Village coming up, or that people should be keeping an eye out for, or any other interesting news happening at your business?
No, obviously, to look at the calendar of events, it's, as I said earlier, it's quite robust. Our programming is great this summer. But one thing that I would like to stress is anybody that comes out to Canterbury, we have our own food bank at the village here with partnership with Woodside Bible Church. So if anybody's just coming out casually to Canterbury Village, please bring some canned goods or dry box goods. We're always looking for cereal type of or breakfast type of items. And right now, obviously, with inflation, we're feeding a lot of families, and we're quite proud of it. So if anybody, is coming out to Canterbury, please bring some stuff for our food pantry. Helps out a lot of people, and our reach is just not Lake Orion families. We got families from Oxford, Clarkston, Pontiac that come up and reach out to our food pantry. So please help us out. We sure do appreciate it.
More information, again, canterburyvillage.com. The shops at Canterbury Village, Friday through Sunday, hours 10 a.m. until 5 p.m. Keith, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, and I do apologize for the technical difficulties today. Technology is great when it works, but it's a pain in the butt when it doesn't, right?
It's always the balance and always the battle, but we appreciate it and appreciate your time.
Okay, thank you. Have a great one.
You as well. CanterburyVillage.com for more information and to purchase tickets to all their really fun events this summer, and of course to explore their shops at Canterbury Village as well. We're going to take a break on the Megacast. When we come back, we've seen a number of tragedies recently involving mass shootings, including at our own schools. How do we cope with this on a national level and a local level, whether you're in the towns affected by these directly or not? And more importantly, how do we help our kids, often who are sadly involved in directly coping with these events, but also dealing with these events on a large-scale level that they're seeing so often nowadays. Dr. Melanie Schwartz from Viewpoint Psychology and Wellness will join us next on the Oakland County Megacast to talk about that and much more. This is the Oakland County Megacast.
You see certain things get reincarnated in your children. My daughter is very much inspired by my wife's artistic pursuits. So my daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. And if there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops. My dad wasn't around, and I remember riding a bike and falling off and cutting myself, and me never just wanted to get back on it. People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike, and you didn't. I didn't teach them. I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
Whether you're the city,
the county,
or the Huron River Watershed Council.
As partners, working together to protect our water resources, we agree.
Pet waste is the source of harmful bacteria in the Huron River.
When it's left on the ground, it can wash into the storm drains.
These lead directly to our streams. No filters, no treatment.
Here's one thing we know that can help keep our water clean.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
So pick up pet waste and trash it.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Who is struggling right now?
I am.
My son is. Many are struggling with anxiety, depression, and substance use. Before it becomes a crisis, reach out to MyCal, the Michigan Crisis and Access Line for free confidential support 24/7. Available in the Upper Peninsula and Oakland County. Just call or text 1-844-44-MyCal or chat online at michigan.gov/MyCal. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Motorcyclists are hard to see. To keep everyone safer, it's important to always look for them and know where most crashes occur. 84% of motorcycle and vehicle crashes happen on streets, not highways. And most crashes with motorcyclists occur when vehicle drivers are turning left. So before turning, especially to the left, make sure you look for motorcyclists. Then look again. It could save a life.
If you are struggling to afford internet service for your household, there is a new government program that may be able to help. It's called the Affordable Connectivity Program, and it provides up to a $30 monthly discount to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll at fcc.gov/ACP or call toll-free at 877-384-2575. That's 877-384-2575.
The Greater West Bloomfield Cable Communications Commission has more information. Visit gwbcable.org.
To Sofia and Gabriel. Even though these old knees can't follow on your adventure to the forest today, these flowers represent my love. These stitches and threads join us together. And wherever you see a flower, a bird, a beautiful tree, know that my love is with you.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
72.7% of high school students get less than the recommended 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night. This can cause pain, obesity, and can very negatively affect your mental health. When you have a consistent 7 to 9 hours of sleep every day, you get sick less often, lose more weight, and have better relationships with those around you. For more information about the dangers of sleep deprivation, go to sleepfoundation.org. This message is brought to you by the WBHS Digital Media Arts Program and 89.3 Lakes FM.
Welcome back to the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Tyler Kieft. Learn more about the program by visiting our website at civiccentertv.com and clicking on our Megacast page where you'll learn more about our partnering stations, including My Michigan TV, and find all of our programs on demand. A recent study released just a short while ago said that the leading cause of death for children in the U.S. is now by gun violence. How do we cope with that ourselves and help our children cope with that reality as they're going to school and out and about in their regular life as well in today's world? Joining us now to talk about that and help us with some of these answers is Dr. Melanie Schwartz, back with us once again from Viewpoint Psychology and Wellness. Dr. Schwartz, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate having you on. So again, as we said, a recently released statistic stated that the leading cause of death for children in the U.S. is now gun violence. When or if children hear about this, or as they hear and they see more of these news stories about mass shootings in which children are killed, certainly these school shootings, and they question their parents about it, how should the parents go about entering those discussions and those conversations with their kids about this reality that, unfortunately, we are now facing, it seems, in more mass than we ever have?
Well, it is unfortunate that this is a conversation that we do have to have with our kids these days. Well, what I would suggest is that everyone does sit down with their kids. that are of school age and who are having active shooter drills at their school, which if you're in elementary school, it's happening. And to sit down and give them basic information. You don't have to feed them all of the information that's out there, or even about necessarily what happened specifically, but then answer their questions in a child-friendly way. Make sure that you remind them that they are safe and everyone around them is protecting them and keeping them safe, and their school is safe and has protective measures to keep them safe. I'm sure the school is reiterating that as well, but just, make sure you're educating them, because if they don't have information, that creates anxiety. So a little bit of information is fine. A lot of information, like we all have, and our anxiety is elevated at this point, is not healthy for them.
And so when it comes to the kids who are seeing these stories and hearing these stories about mass shootings in schools all throughout the U.S., even right here in Oakland County is unfortunately included in that regard, they get nervous about just going to school. They don't know what's going to happen on any given day. None of us do. And that, of course, causes that anxiety on so many different levels for everyone involved, anybody that is going into the school or into the community. So for kids that are in distress about this wave of school shootings that's been happening lately all over America, how do we talk them through that, and maybe if not ease their worries, at least give them some perspective on this issue and how they can help others in their school location?
Well, I definitely think it's important to, if your child is having a lot of anxiety about it, to address it with the school and let the school talk to them as well. Whether you do it as a group with, whoever's in, whether it's the social worker or the teacher or the counselor, plus the parents, that may be a good idea to ease the anxiety. That way, it's not just the parents saying, oh, you're safe, you're fine. The school is also reiterating and saying, no, we have your back, you're okay, you're safe. It's very important not to keep the kids home. It is, we're going into summer, so that's gonna happen, but, and we won't, obviously the school shootings won't happen for 3 months now, but it's important to, make sure the kids are going to school, not keeping them home, because that's just gonna elevate their anxiety. So making sure that, there is a consistency, there is a routine. If they see that you're sending them to school, then they know that you feel safe sending them to school, then they're going to feel more safe.
More information can be found. You can get in contact with Dr. Schwartz and the other experts at Viewpoint Psychology and Wellness by visiting their website, viewpointpw.com. That's viewpointpw.com for more information. And so as more people are talking about the gun issue, about the mass shooting issues, and a lot of times the arguments or the discussions in these cases turn to mental health, and so many would make the argument that this isn't necessarily a gun problem, it's more of a mental health problem. Others would say vice versa, and many are right in the middle and would say it's a little bit of both. But there is that fine line between mental health issues that lead somebody to do something that is out of character for them, that is violent, that is something that's very regrettable, I would imagine, for some people that do commit violence. But at the same time, there is a difference between a mental health issue and just hatred. How do we veer through that line and uncover one versus the other as we're identifying the issues at hand here that are leading to these tragedies?
Well, okay, I know this is a very controversial, discussion to have, and everyone has their opinion on it. Somebody who is making a decision like this is not of sound mind, okay, or else they would have their rational thoughts to tell them that this is a bad idea, this is not okay. So from my perspective, there is a mental health component to it that starts it, okay? Obviously, guns are the means to what they are using to act on their hatred or their, mental health issues, whatever is going on for them. But, digging through it, I think if you look at it, there has to be some irrational, extremely irrational thinking going on that's going to lead to these acts of violence. And that is going to stem from mental health in some way, shape, or form.
We're joined by Dr. Melanie Schwartz from Viewpoint Psychology and Wellness on the Oakland County Megacast. More information can be found on their website at viewpointpw.com. Learn more about their services and their experts over there that you can get in contact with should you be in need or be seeking counseling in any form. Again, that's viewpointpw.com for more information. And so on another issue, the economy's looking like it's in a downturn. Inflation is at a high. Gas prices, of course, are tightening people's pockets. And when financial issues and stresses arise for people and for families, sometimes that can become so dominant in their thinking, and that affects their behavior, it affects their attitude, it affects their mood, and that affects everyone else around them. So for adults in particular, when things get financially stressful, what steps can they take psychologically to ease that tension at least enough to where it doesn't further affect others and other situations in their lives?
Well, I think we've all been at a heightened level of stress and anxiety over the last couple years, over 2 years at this point. And we haven't really had any relief from it, even though we try. And, the world has opened up and we are starting to do things a little differently in terms of COVID. Obviously, there's these other things that keep popping up for us that are very stressful and affect us personally. And so there's one piece of advice that I would give that is extremely important. I have a print on my wall, and it talks about attitude and how we don't have any control about the things around us, but attitude is about 90% of how we deal with something is what happens to us. So it's really important on your attitude about it. There is a solution. Even if at times it doesn't feel like it, there's a solution. And if you need help, ask for it. Okay. Somebody will help you find it. And if you can't find help, go on the internet. You can find the resources. They are there to help you in some way, shape, or form. There are so many resources out there that are being utilized right now because people are struggling for a variety of reasons and have been for the last couple of years. Another piece, too, is to make sure that you are balanced with some of this, because we are getting, bombarded with this information and how stressful it is and it's affecting us. And I think it's important, please limit your watching or reading or hearing about some of the stressors that are going on, because it's the same information. We see it, we feel it, we know it, and it's not healthy to just obsess over it, which I see people doing a lot, is really focusing on it and reading and watching. Get the information, but then you don't need to, keep CNN on all day long, or read about it, in the news all day long. So there has to be that balance there. Okay. If you are really struggling emotionally with it and the stress just seems like it's too much, reach out, find a therapist, talk to a crisis line, talk to a friend, family member, colleague, whoever that might be for you, but make sure you're talking about it and not keeping it in, because, we a lot of times internally, keep all of the stuff inside and don't address it. And then it just builds up and builds up. And because of all the stressors that just keep piling on, eventually that will lead to additional mental health issues.
Can you speak to just how important that moment is when someone has let those issues that they're having, or those thoughts that they're having out of their head and to another person, whether that be an expert like those of you over at Viewpoint Psychology and Wellness or someone else in your life? I mean, your business's slogan is people start to heal the moment that they feel heard. Mm-hmm. How important is that moment in alleviating at least initial stressors from some of these psychological issues that they may be having?
Extremely important. I see a lot of people who come in to see me for anxiety, and a lot of the anxiety that is occurring for them is built up because they're not talking. They're keeping it in. So it is probably the most important factor, that you are not holding in stress, that you are talking about it to somebody and making sure that you're addressing it. Even if you don't have anyone to talk to and you just write it out or type it out and just get it out of your head, it has to, if it's in your head, it's just circling, doesn't have anywhere to go. And so you just obsess about it and focus on it. And that's going to lead to increased anxiety and depression.
We're joined by Dr. Melanie Schwartz from Viewpoint Psychology and Wellness, joining us on the Megacast. More information on their website, viewpointpw.com. That's viewpointpw.com. pw.com for more information. And continuing on, also that's what's becoming a even bigger issue over time has been suicide. It's becoming a bigger issue, particularly among young people and among adults. What are the signs that people should be looking out for? Because as we go through time, some of those signs that we're told to look out for have been consistent, some have changed, and there's different levels of severity and different ways to intervene at those different levels.
Yes, absolutely. A lot of times, obviously, we get the kids, adults who come to us or go to their school counselor or teachers and report how they're feeling, okay, or write about how they're feeling, okay. At that level, obviously, the person involved can intervene and, get them to the hospital or contact the parents or whatever needs to happen, okay, contact the police. So that's obviously that's the most obvious way that people are talking about how they're feeling. Some of the behaviors that we're seeing are isolation, not eating, not sleeping. They might be giving away things that are theirs, that are, cherished material objects of theirs, and they start giving them away to people. You'll see, their mood will look different. They'll look depressed, or they just will look unhealthy. Sometimes you can absolutely see that. So these are some of the things. Decreased sleep and not eating will increase their thinking about suicide. Okay, because if you're not regulated, if you're not feeling good, if you're not eating and sleeping, and that's just going to increase the level of depression for them. You're going to hear people talking about feeling hopeless, that things aren't going to change. They're always going to be this way. So why should I go on? So you'll hear that. At that level, intervention can occur also, whether it's getting into therapy, seeing a psychiatrist, getting into a day treatment program, or even, if flat out they're saying that they're suicidal, then going to the hospital. We also do see more frequently than we have before is the people who are silent and don't, you would never know that anything was going on with them. And so that's kind of the most difficult population of people who are committing suicide, because there's no one who can intervene at that point because they aren't aware that anything's going on. Okay. And so that, one tiny little sign is enough to have them talk to somebody. In this day and age, it's important to make sure everybody's just talking and not holding stuff in. If you have a teenager that's just in their room all the time, trying your hardest to get them out and just kind of talk to them. Talking is key right now with all of the issues that are going on. And so that's one of the preventative ways, is just making sure that your kids are talking to somebody, or adults are talking to somebody. There is no difference at this point between kids and adults and suicide. It's across the board. I'm seeing it. I'm hearing about it from the police department, that, the suicide calls that they're getting are very, they're increased significantly. So it's across the board based on all the stressors that are going on in this world. But no matter what, make sure you seek help from a professional in some way, shape, or form if you identify any of the symptoms.
Melanie, Dr. Schwartz, so many people that may be in need of some counseling or may want to speak to an expert about their issues, they are reluctant to do so for financial reasons. Maybe they know it's not covered by their insurance provider, or they're worried it isn't, or if they know they're going to have to pay out of pocket, that can be a big deterrence to them, and that can be a huge problem. So what sort of financial assistance is available for those that are seeking psychological care that they can tap into if they need to speak to a professional?
Well, that's where they reach out to the community mental health centers like Easter Seals or Oakland Family Services, okay? They see people at a very, very low rate based on what people can afford. And so financial issues are not a concern seen going to those places, okay? Community mental health centers. Also, you can reach out to Common Ground, and they will assist you to find the right services for you. We at Viewpoint, we have a student on staff all year long who sees people at a very, very low sliding scale just for that reason as well, for people who can't afford therapy. So there are options out there. Calling a crisis line if you're in crisis. So there are options out there. It's just reaching out to them.
We're joined by Dr. Melanie Schwartz from Viewpoint Psychology and Wellness. More information on their website and to get in contact, viewpointpw.com. That's viewpointpw.com for more information. Dr. Schwartz, before we let you go, anything else that our viewers and listeners should know at this time or be considering at this time on the psychology and mental health front that we haven't discussed today?
It's a really, 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 probably the hardest, as far as I know, in my career, in my life, time in this world right now. It doesn't seem to be letting up. It's very difficult. And, that's going to increase your level of anxiety or depression. Even if you've never had it before and you don't know what it is, but you're feeling different things that are uncomfortable for you, just reach out, ask your doctor, talk to a friend, talk to somebody, and, see what's going on and try to find some help in some way, whether it's Viewpoint or it's another practice or it's community mental health or, if it's needed, a hospital. There is help out there. Just ask and it can be found.
Dr. Schwartz, thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you.
More information and to get in contact with Dr. Schwartz and others at Viewpoint Psychology and Wellness on their website, viewpointpw.com. We're going to take a break. When we come back on your radio homes for the Megacast 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake and 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills, as well as the remainder of our network, we will check in with the Michigan Restaurant and Lodging Association. John McNamara, their Vice President of Government Affairs, will join us to talk about the results of a survey in the hospitality industry following what has been a tumultuous couple of years for our restaurants, our hotels, and other restaurant and lodging businesses all across the Great Lakes state. That's coming up next as we begin the Michigan Megacast.
If you are struggling to afford internet service for your household, there is a new government program that may be able to help. It's called the Affordable Connectivity Program, and it provides up to a $30 monthly discount to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll at fcc.gov/ACP or call toll-free at 877-384-2575. That's 877-384-2575.
The Greater West Bloomfield Cable Communications Commission has more information. Visit gwbcable.org.
Can I ask you a question? Why did you get your kids vaccinated?
It was hard for them to social distance, to be isolated from their friends.
I want them to get back to school and sports games. So as a pediatrician, I recommend the vaccine to everyone I know.
The boys lost a former teammate and classmate who was only 20 years old. It's been a devastating year.
We want to get back to normalcy. Our daughter is really looking forward to being with her friends, being a kid.
It's the Great Lakes water. And so what people do ends up in our waterways.
Flushable wipes are just evil. They should be thrown away. They're impossible to destroy, and they can cause significant problems.
One of the main things when you're cooking is to not dump fats, oils, and greases down your drains.
They stick to the sides of pipes, they stick to everything they come in contact with. Don't put it down the sink.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
Welcome to the Michigan Megacast. I'm Tyler Kieft. To learn more about the program by visiting our website at civiccentertv.com and clicking on our Megacast link, where you'll find more information about each and every one of our partnering stations, including My Michigan TV, at mymytv.com, where you can also learn more about downloading their free apps for your smartphones and your smart TVs. Joining us now is the Vice President of Government Affairs at the Michigan Restaurant and Lodging Association, as our restaurants, our hotels, and our other services in the industry have had a very tough couple of years with COVID-19. How are things going now that our world is starting to open back up and the COVID-19 issue isn't as severe as it has been in the last couple of years? We'll find out with John McNamara from the Michigan Restaurant and Lodging Association. John, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Delighted to be back.
Yeah, glad to have you on with us today. So as we are going into summer of 2022, it's a big season in any regular year for travel in Michigan, for tourism in Michigan, and especially for people just to go outside, get out in their communities, and venture into some of their businesses, including their hotels and their restaurants. What's the outlook this summer for these businesses, and what looks like just on the surface could be a really big bounce back year?
So hopefully it is. Obviously, luckily hopefully the worst of COVID is behind us. The restrictions are gone, which is all great news. However, unfortunately, labor continues to be an issue, and now supply chain and inflation are a major struggle. And who knows what happens with prices of gas this summer? Are people going to be able to, head up north as frequently, if at all, or is it going to be more sort of a staycation type year? So part of that remains to be seen, but we're hoping for a very good year. We are seeing that the demand is there in terms, especially for dining and to travel, but just some outlying issues that we will continue to work out and figure out along the way.
So as you said, the big issue that seems to be at hand for these businesses at this time is staffing, and that is even from a recent study that was conducted by your organization that had said that the lack of staff, in spite of owners' attempts to raise wages, is that biggest issue. So can you talk about that survey and what the results have told you and other insiders in the restaurant and lodging industry in Michigan?
Yeah, I think it's just that a lot of the people that left either are not coming back at all or are not ready to come back yet. They've gone to found other work and have said, we're not coming back to the hospitality industry. I think you will continue to see people slowly come back, hopefully come back. But in order to do that, we are also looking at sort of continuing to work and train the next generation of leaders in this industry. So it's going to be a very big budget year for us here at the state legislature. So one of our asks is increased funding for a program called ProStart, which is a high school culinary program in 70 high schools across the country. Michigan sent 2 teams to nationals this year, but these are high school students who their junior, senior year are in a career and tech program, and they can walk out and they're ready to work in a restaurant day one. So they can walk out of high school and start working. And the other is a newly established Hospitality Training Institute of Michigan, HTIM. And this is a brand new school we established here at MRLA, and it is for a lot of people became accidental managers during COVID. They showed up to work every day and there was no choice. It was, you're a manager, you're a general manager, you're a shift leader. So it's now giving those people skills they need in order to manage more effectively. And then when people have a really good employee who they think want to be a manager, we're upscaling those employees in order to continue to be leaders in this industry. So while we hope people will continue to come back to this industry, we think it is incumbent upon us to help this industry come back is train and retain this next generation of leaders and workers.
More information can be found on the study that was conducted by the Michigan Restaurant and Lodging Association by visiting their website at mrla.org. That's mrla.org for more information. And so as we continue to have these staffing issues and as these businesses are trying to adjust, what are some of the many ways that these staffing shortages and these changes in the paradigm in the industry will affect these businesses in what is the busiest season traditionally in summer in Michigan?
So I think you're going to continue to see, maybe not serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner if that's something you typically did. You're going to continue to see maybe you're closed a day or two a week, or maybe you're closing off certain sections and saying, yeah, I can sit 150 people. I only have enough staff to maybe serve 100. So maybe you might see some empty tables and they still might tell you there's a bit of a wait. That's probably why. So, I mean, it's what you saw sort of as we were emerging from the pandemic and from the shutdowns of, limited hours, maybe limited days, maybe limited meal service. But I think that you will continue to see that this summer. Even around, obviously, East Lansing's a college town. You're seeing a lot of places closed Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, simply because a lot of the labor force, went home for the summer, or is doing an internship and doing what college kids do and what college kids should do. But a lot of the labor force is leaving college town. So I'm sure, Kalamazoo, Ann Arbor, Mount Pleasant are all seeing the same thing.
We're joined by John McNamara, Vice President of Government Affairs at the Michigan Restaurant and Lodging Association, on the Megacast. More information can be found on their website at mrla.org. That's mrla.org. And so as these businesses are continuing to try to cope with this issue and to mitigate the staffing issue, to continue operations as normal as they possibly can, what sort of incentives? We've seen in the past, the incentives have been a big part of trying to recruit new staff or retain staff that have either recently left those jobs and they want back, or are still in those jobs and they want to keep. Are those incentives still there, and in what capacity?
Not really. I think in the most part, incentives were great for a point, but at this point, with the McDonald's in Traverse City is paying $21, $22 an hour to start. So at this point, you're seeing increased wages, which is getting people back. But in terms of the direct incentives, off the top of my head, I don't know anyone who's really doing that anymore. You're seeing a lot of, work today, get paid tomorrow, sort of some, getting paid more quickly. That's something large chains can do. That's not something your small and independent operator is able to do. So, between labor force and between supply chain and inflation, it's still going to be an interesting and trying summer for some people, for most people.
We hear so much and we talk so much about the changes that have been made on the restaurant side of this industry because of the staffing issues, because of the supply chain issues, because of the ways that these issues amount for these businesses. On the lodging side, what are some of the ways that these issues are individually and collectively affecting our hotels and other lodging businesses?
I would say on the staff side, the largest impact on lodging hotel is housekeeping. And you're seeing a lot of people now who will say, if you're staying for 1 or 2 nights, you may not receive housekeeping service. If you're staying for longer, it might be every other day. Or if you need fresh towels, call down to the desk. We're happy to bring them up. So it's going to be slightly more of a proactive approach in some cases. But housekeeping right now is tough to do, and it's going to be limited. I know there are situations where hoteliers are having their high school kids this year are working housekeeping because they need it, and the high school kids want to work, which is great, and they need housekeepers. So I think you're going to see, probably not your typical housekeepers a lot this summer. You're going to probably see 16, 17, 18-year-old high school kids in there changing sheets and making beds and taking out trash and doing this, that, and the other. But on the hotel side, it would definitely be housekeeping maintenance is where the biggest impact has been.
And these are changes that a lot of people that are getting back out in the world and are traveling and are going to be engaging with these lodging businesses here in Michigan and in other places too, frankly, are not used to. They're not adjusted to.
Absolutely.
It. So that causes a lot of frustration. Generally speaking, from your contact with those in the industry, how has that relationship been with the patrons that are coming back into these businesses and are paying for these services? Are they generally being kind and courteous to the situation that these staff are under, which is often being overworked and getting a lot of hours and under tight deadlines because there's a lot of moving parts?
Absolutely, and they have been, and I think they have been for the main reason that from the time they book the reservation and get that confirmation email, it's in that email that this service might be limited. If they call and interact with them before the stay, is communicated. When they check in, it's communicated. So they know very, very, as much as possible beforehand that these services might be limited and it might look a little different. And I think when people know that going into it and they're prepared for it, it's much easier and they can plan for it rather than when you check in and maybe, you have, your whole family, mom, dad, a couple kids. All of a sudden not having housekeeping could be a big deal in that situation. But if you allow people to plan for it, let them know ahead of time, for the most part, the vast majority have been very understanding and very receptive.
We're joined by John McNamara, Vice President of Government Affairs at the Michigan Restaurant and Lodging Association on the Megacast. Again, more information from the MRLA can be found on their website, mrla.org. That's mrla.org for more information on everything happening with the Michigan Restaurant and Lodging Association. And John, as this is the peak season of the year and as people are going to be traveling, you think about those major travel locations in Michigan. Of course, there's Detroit and Grand Rapids. There's also those destination locations like Traverse City and Mackinac City. And lodging plays a key role in tourism in the state of Michigan, and all these great locations and landmarks across the state. Knowing that this is a busy season, this is the busiest season of the year, and the issues that are mounting on the staffing side, on the supply chain side, how ready are our businesses for that rush that maybe can be expected this summer with people coming back out into these communities and exploring the state, both from within Michigan and from across the U.S. and the world?
They're ready and they can't wait. They're ready to return to normal. They're ready for as much normal as hopefully we can be this year, this season, and hopefully next season, 2023, this really is a distant memory and everything's behind us and we're completely back to normal. But they are more than ready. I was on Mackinac Island last week as part of the Detroit Chamber Policy Conference, and just about every single thing ran smoothly, ran very, very well. So they're more than ready. They did this before COVID, and they're ready to do this after COVID as well.
We're joined by John McNamara, Vice President of Government Affairs at the Michigan Restaurant and Lodging Association, joining us on the Megacast. More information, again, on their website, mrla.org. That's mrla.org for more information. John, as we continue on into the summer season, as we are starting to get to a more sense of normalcy following the bulk of the COVID-19 pandemic, we look back, we think about all the restaurants and other businesses in the restaurant and lodging industry that had fallen as a result of COVID-19, and now we're in different financial times, but it's still, presumably speaking, a time of crisis. Are we seeing new businesses in these industries come back in and sort of replenish the numbers that we lost in terms of the businesses that had fallen to COVID-19?
I think we have, and we'll start with a little bit of sort of bad news on that, is that, I don't think we're done with closures. A local restaurant here in Lansing just announced they were closing last week. So I think, unfortunately, you will see some more closures, and that's going to be part staffing, but that's also going to be a lot of supply chain and inflation. And I also think you're going to see some people who have made it through it and have said, I'm tired. I simply can't do this anymore. But though, you're also seeing new restaurants open, you're seeing new hotels open, you're seeing concrete being poured, for hotels. So I think the market is out there, the demand is there, and you will see, some of that loss replaced with new businesses. And while that's great, and we always welcome new business in this state, unfortunately, there will still be some people who are forced to close their doors just due to everything that's gone on these past 2.5 years and the sort of uncertain future of the next probably 6 to 12 months.
We're joined by John McNamara. He is the Vice President of Government Affairs at the Michigan Restaurant and Lodging Association, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. More information can be found on mrla.org. That's mrla.org for more information on the Michigan Restaurant and Lodging Association. John, before we let you go, anything else that we should be considering about our restaurants and our lodging businesses at this time, or other interesting information we haven't covered today?
I would know. Thank you for having me. And I would just say, as I usually do when I sign off, that anyone who, waits on you, serves you, checks you in a hotel, they're doing the absolute best that they can. We are not out of the woods yet. So I just ask you to, continue to please be patient with them, help them out. And, if your favorite item is not on the menu, which it might not be this summer, they'll have plenty of other great options for you. So I thank you for having me and look forward to seeing you again.
Absolutely look forward to seeing you as well. We've been joined by John McNamara, the Vice President of Government Affairs at the Michigan Restaurant and Lodging Association. More information on their website and a number of forms, both if you're looking for a job as we talked about, so many jobs open in Michigan's restaurant and lodging industries. You have more information on the projects that they're working on at MRLA. You can listen to their podcast, What's with the Pineapple. You can find their podcast episodes on their website at mrla.org/podcast, as well as more information on restaurants and other businesses in this industry all across the state of Michigan and ways you can help them out during this busy summer, hopefully, that is ahead for all of them. We're going to take a break on the Michigan Megacast. When we come back, we will speak to one of 300 charities and nonprofits supported on the Share Detroit platform. Nazarena Manaya joins us next from the Ruth Ellis Center in Detroit. That's up next on the Megacast.
We may come from different organizations,
but we work together to protect the Huron River for everyone.
Neighborhood storm drains carry water directly to local creeks and streams. No filters, no treatment.
Storm drains also help reduce street flooding when it rains.
So clearing storm drains and the areas nearby of trash and leaves helps keep them for rain only.
It is easy to do your part by adopting a storm drain.
Find a storm drain, check it, and clear it every month.
So keep storm drains for rain only.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
If you are struggling to afford internet service for your household, there is a new government program that may be able to help. It's called the Affordable Connectivity Program, and it provides up to a $30 monthly discount to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll at fcc.gov/ACP or call toll-free at 877-384-2575. That's 877-384-2575.
The Greater West Bloomfield Cable Communications Commission has more information. Visit gwbcable.org.
We as Michiganders feel connected to this resource in a way that I think is really powerful.
Conservation starts with a caring, committed community.
For me, it's peaceful to have a relationship with the river.
Every single one of us has a role to make sure that those waterways stay safe and healthy, being careful about what goes down the storm drain.
Just even eliminating some of your single-use plastic makes a difference.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Did you know that nearly 3.31 million Americans don't get their annual checkup? Going to the doctor regularly is extremely important and is a crucial factor in maintaining good health. Make sure you are visiting your local doctor often and telling them about any health concerns you have. For more information, contact your local healthcare provider. This message is brought to you by WBHS Digital Media Arts Program and 89.3 Lakes FM.
If you are struggling to afford internet service for your household, there is a new government program that may be able to help. It's called the Affordable Connectivity Program, and it provides up to a $30 monthly discount to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll at fcc.gov/ACP or call toll-free at 877-384-2575. That's 877-384-2575.
The Greater West Bloomfield Cable Communications Commission has more information. Visit gwbcable.org.
People are getting out to walk and bike in higher numbers. More vulnerable road users and higher speed traffic can be a dangerous combination. Crash severity has increased, so if you're driving, be sure to slow down and look for people. There's no need to speed. If you're biking, ride with traffic. If you're walking, avoid stepping into the road if possible. If you have to walk in the street, walk facing traffic. Learn more at walkbikedrivesafe.org.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Kieft. To learn more about the program by visiting our website at civiccentertv.com and clicking on our Megacast link, where you'll find more information on our entire network of stations, including My Michigan TV, where you can go to their website at mymytv.com and learn more about where you can download their free smartphone and smart TV apps and always have Michigan in your pocket and at home with you on My Michigan TV. Joining us now is Nazarena Manaya from the Ruth Ellis Center located in Detroit. It's one of 300 charities and nonprofits supported on the Share Detroit platform. Nazarena, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me, Tyler. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you as well, and thank you for coming on. First of all, can you just tell us a little bit about the Ruth Ellis Center, the services that it provides to LGBTQ plus individuals, and a little bit of the history of the organization as well?
Absolutely. So the organization started in 1999 after a 15-year-old was violently rejected by his family after coming out. Over a weekend, he was routed to some elders who got together and said, we need a space that is hospitable, that is loving, that is caring for youth that might be enduring such an experience. And over that weekend, the Ruth Ellis Center came to be. Some 15 years later, we had the great honor of being able to open health and wellness services to provide for LGBTQ youth. And from then on, it's sort of been a moonshot. And so at the organization, we have an integrated healthcare model. And so your potential therapist is pretty much best friends with your potential physician. We provide a full gamut of primary care services. We also provide housing services. We also provide a low barrier access point called the drop-in. So if you need to do laundry really quick, if you need to check your email, if you need some new threads, if you want a quick meal, all those things you have access to in our drop-in center. If you're in need of access to IDs, obviously you're dealing with young people who have lost access to those types of things, given that they may not be home. And so if you need ID, birth certificates, we have wonderful care managers who can route you to those very necessary items. And yeah, it's just, a really great place. I absolutely love working there. And there's just a lot to be done, right? And so we have the Ruth Ellis Claremont Center coming to you soon. It's permanent supportive housing. We've already started receiving referrals. It's going to be a 43-unit mixed development space. There are studios, there are one-bedroom apartments, all slated for LGBTQ youth and allies, as well as those who meet certain income restrictions at $16,500 will be able to live there. There's going to be laundry accessible there. There's going to be a health and wellness center there as well. And so we're growing. We're growing very quickly. And so we have a couple of locations, one at 95 Victor, that's our administrative building. That's also where the drop-in center and our housing department reside. 77 Victor, which is right across the street over in Highland Park. That's where our health and wellness and behavioral health services are housed, as well as the Ruth Ellis Institute. If you find yourself either working for an entity or in a school and you would like for the staff or the students to get educated on what it means to be an ally and properly care for those in the community, that you would solicit that sort of assistance from the Ruth Ellis Institute, which is housed over at 77 Victor. We also have the Kofi House, and that is our Center for Lesbian and Queer Women and Girls. That is a specific department and a safe space just for those who identify as such, but all a part of the Ruth Ellis Center, and soon to be the Ruth Ellis Claremont Center will be joining our campus. And we're just incredibly excited to be able to provide such an incredible resource to our community and specifically to our LGBTQ youth.
And for those LGBTQ youth and allies that you mentioned and qualify for this housing at the Claremont Center or other housing provided by the Ruth Ellis Center, how can they go about applying for this housing or obtaining this housing?
So the best thing to do, honestly, would just be you would start at emailing us. It's as simple as emailing us and letting us know your need. So that's at info@ruthelliscenter.org. That email will be routed to the appropriate department to help and support you.
We're joined by Nazarena Manaya from the Ruth Ellis Center, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. More information, of course, on ruthelliscenter.org. That's ruthelliscenter.org, or by calling 313-252-1950, 313-252-1950 for more information on their services and to get involved. And so you mentioned so many of the programs that are available through the Ruth Ellis Center and how people can participate in them. Who is facilitating these programs, and is there capacity for people who are LGBTQ individuals or allies or anyone in the community that would like to help facilitate these programs and these services to volunteer with the Ruth Ellis Center?
Oh, there's always opportunities. to volunteer with the organization. Currently, just due to how iffy sort of COVID has made accessibility to the space, we've only allowed volunteer opportunities for the most part from our corporate partners, because typically they come in groups, and we have a lot of beautification projects that we're working on currently just because our campus is growing. In terms of who is facilitating these different programs, we just have an incredible staff, an incredible knowledgeable staff. In terms of like our health and wellness center, our main one at 77 is guided by the Henry Ford Health System, currently pediatrics. Once Ruth Ellis Center Claremont opens, that will be facilitated by adult medicine provided by Henry Ford Health. Our behavioral health department is headed by an incredible psychologist. We also have a PhD in psychology that works there. We also have a large swath of MSWs and LLPs that support our outpatient therapy programs. And we have other programs, including our family acceptance project that is working with families to keep them together when the state is involved with the youth and understands that the disruption in the family is due to the young person's sexual orientation, gender identity, and/or expression. Our housing department is also headed by a wonderful social worker and some incredibly knowledgeable individuals who have worked in the space for many, 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 many years. And so we just have an incredible staff that is very fortunate, and much of the staff is also a part of the community. So it's really important to us as an organization for our young people to see people with whom they can very closely identify working in the positions and supporting them. And I can say for the organization, that is sort of very true to our hearts and very much about, what we're about. Even right now, our co-interim executive directors both identify as part of the community. And of that, we're very proud.
More information can be found on ruthelliscenter.org. That's ruthelliscenter.org. And that point is so important, to have people in the community that are providing these services, because they know how important these services are, and they know, more importantly, beyond just the general importance of providing these services to those in the LGBTQ community, especially the LGBTQ plus youth, they know how stigmatized and how preventative these services are in the general community as well. And so speak to the importance of that in the services that are provided by the Ruth Ellis Center, particularly for trans youth, because so many medical services, especially psychological services, and especially in the times that we're in, are refusing to care for these individuals despite their oath to care for all individuals, regardless of their backgrounds.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. So gender affirming care and trauma informed care is very much a foundation of the services that are provided by the center. When we're talking about trans youth specifically, just given the large swath of legislation that has come out across the country, really singling out these young people. I remember I was reading a report not that long ago that, there was a ban, on a transgendered girl who, was wanting to play sports, and literally, it was literally just the one child that was going to be impacted by this law, which was just so, you can't even understand how dehumanizing that is to hear, for other children who identify as such. And so understanding really sort of the constant attacks of not just LGBTQ children, like in general, but also non-binary and especially trans youth. It's understanding the world that we live in, and which is why we provide the services that we provide. I'm not saying that every child is going to be rejected, and that's not the experience of 100% of the children that we and the young people that we deal with, but it is a very real part of the experiences that a lot of the young people have had. And so understanding that, it's incredibly important to us to provide services with the understanding that this might be a part of the fabric that makes this young person who they are. And gender affirming care, it's just so essential. And some people think, this is literally just something for trans youth, but all of us are doing gender affirming things every day, right? Like I just did my eyelashes. And that's just because I wanted to feel pretty. Everyone should be allowed to have the opportunity to feel pretty and to feel like 100% of who they are. And it's really, gender affirming care is about respect. It's about respect and meeting someone where they are. And it is foundational to not just the care that you'll receive in the health and wellness center. It's not just the care that your therapist is going to give you and your doctor, but literally everyone you encounter at the center, and anyone who identifies with the center, people who support us, just know that is the care. Those are the kinds of communications. Those are the kinds of encounters you're going to have with people in the space. We live to affirm. We live to affirm young people, no matter how they identify. We live to affirm our community, and not just people within the LGBTQ community, but everyone who comes into contact with us. It's essential. We're living in really, really different times. And it's just really important to understand that, there are sort of layers to the trauma that we've all been enduring. We've all sort of been enduring this collective trauma of a pandemic. And then with the recent mass shootings, it's just so important for us to be kind to one another. And that's what gender affirming care is all about, and trauma informed care. It's just understanding the world that we live in and how someone's experience, though it might differ from yours, there are ways to approach people that you might identify differently than, in ways that make them feel like you are seeing them 100% and holistically. And that's what the center is all about. It is very much our foundation. It is very much about, the principles of how and why we do the work that we do. And I thank you so much for bringing that up, because it's just so important to address, especially now.
It's a matter of recognizing and respecting people's humanity. And that's so incredibly important. And unfortunately and disturbingly, it seems to be something that so many people don't want to have the capacity to take on themselves and support in our communities. Now, Serena, before we let you go, we have just another minute left with you. I want to give you an opportunity to speak on some of the events that are coming up through the Ruth Ellis Center that will help to support these efforts.
Absolutely. And so for the entire month of June, we have our virtual walk. It was, born from the pandemic. We just wanted people to have an opportunity to get out there while feeling safely and just sort of proudly affirming the LGBTQ community and particularly LGBTQ youth. You can come to our website, ruthelliscenter.org, and learn all about it. You can start a team, start fundraising, just get out there, get your pride flags out there, get your ally shirts on, get your pride shirts on, and just have a good time. It's not just about walking either. Any space that you find you've got some time and you can loudly and proudly affirm our community and our young people, that is what the Ruth Ellis Legacy Walk is all about. And then to kick off Pride further, on Friday, June 3rd, we have Catfight for the Crown. It's an amazing, completely over-the-top, risque drag show we're super proud of. Doors open at 5:30. It's until 11. You can go to ruthelliscenter.org also, check out our events, and you can purchase tickets. There's going to be food. There's going to be glamour. There's going to be a ton of fun, some beautiful individuals, some incredible talents. It's going to be a good time. Masking is optional. We absolutely want you to feel safe if you attend. It's going to be at the Fillmore Detroit, and that's on Friday, June 3rd. And then just check out our social media. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, Ruth Ellis Center. We've got more in store. Pride is basically our first holiday season, if you will, and we're just super excited to be able to affirm our community and enjoy the presence of one another as the summer begins.
Nazarena, thank you so much for joining us on the program. Appreciate your time. Telling us more about the Ruth Ellis Center, one of 300 Share Detroit supported charities and nonprofits. More information on ruthelliscenter.org or on sharedetroit.org. We're going to take a break. On the other side, we'll talk about getting yourself motivated and framing your mind correctly to achieve your dreams with Dr. Barry Franklin from Oakland University. That's coming up next on the Michigan Megacast.
When times get dark, We can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources, call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
Parents do a lot of worrying. Get your kids caught up on childhood vaccines to protect them from these 14 preventable diseases, and you'll have 14 fewer things to worry about. Vaccines are safe and effective and save lives. So let's get caught up on vaccines and worry about something else. Get the facts at ivaccinate.org.
We may come from different organizations,
But we work together to protect the Huron River for everyone.
Most of the pollution that goes into our rivers is carried by rainwater that flows off of roads, parking lots, and rooftops.
The leaves and bark of a single tree can retain a surprising amount of rainwater. Depending on its size and species, it could be 100 gallons or more.
It is estimated that an urban forest can reduce annual runoff by up to 7%.
Here's one thing that we know can help keep our water clean.
Plant a tree.
Plant a tree.
Plant a tree.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
One of the things you can look for in your friends is a change in behavior.
These can be big changes, they can be small changes in mood, physical appearance.
They may be sleeping less or sleeping more, drinking more, or their eating patterns may be different.
One big change that can be pretty obvious is change in motivation. Do they no longer want to play basketball? Do they no longer want to play video games?
Now that we're spending more time online and in virtual settings, it's really important to pay attention to the language that your friend is using and the words they're using to communicate.
So when we text our friends, are they taking longer amounts of time to respond? Are they not responding at all? You don't have to be an expert to try to recognize these signs. The second that you feel it in your gut and that you're concerned, that's the second to have the conversation and open the door to what might be going on.
Whatever gets you talking.
Today, it is easier than ever to join Michigan's Organ Donor Registry and help build a bridge of hope for organ, tissue, and eye donation. Just one person can potentially save or help improve the lives of up to 75 people. By joining, your legacy could be the gift of life. Sign up today at michigan.gov/SOS or at any of the more than 145 Secretary of State self-service stations located across Michigan. Be part of Michigan's Bridge of Hope by adding your name to the Organ Donor Registry.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources, call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Kieft. Learn more about the program by visiting our website at civiccentertv.com. We have links to all of our partnering TV, radio, and web outlets, including My Michigan TV. Well, if you have dreams, if you are looking to make that next step in your life and you're just at a point where you're not quite moving forward and progressing as you'd like, you need some motivation, you need to reframe yourself. You might want to look at what some of the greats in every industry have done to achieve their success. One person has already done that. It's Dr. Barry Franklin from the Oakland University William Beaumont School of Medicine, who joins us now on the Megacast to talk about his book, GPS for Success. Dr. Franklin, thank you for being with us today.
Tyler, pleasure to be with you. Thank you.
Yeah, it's good to have you with us. So first off, tell us a little bit about your background and then your journey to authoring this book, GPS for Success, Skills, Strategies, and Secrets of Superachievers.
Sure. I was a gymnast in undergraduate school. I went to Kent State University, Tyler, and my goals were really twofold. What new trick I was going to learn on the still rings and which attractive co-ed I was going to take out on Saturday night. And I came to the sobering realization that those goals weren't going to lead to a meaningful career or, for that matter, pay the bills. I got a bachelor's, master's, and PhD from Penn State University, got it out into the real world and realized I was not as prepared as I thought I was going to be. Then I started reading everything I could on leadership, success, and early in my career, I embraced Peter Drucker, the management guru's recommendation that everybody should find a secondary pursuit and make it into more than just a hobby. For me, that secondary pursuit became the study of highly successful people in all walks of life. And for the last 4 decades, it's really been a passion of mine, and finally put it together in this new book, GPS for Success.
And so you even taught an entire course on this at Central Michigan. Can you tell us about the basics of GPS for Success and where the titling comes from on this book?
Yeah, the basics are really to fill a void in the standard secondary prevention or secondary education curriculum. The American Council on Education says we need to do a better job in equipping students with broad life and career skills. They talk about these underappreciated soft skills, and the things we address in the book are positive associations, in other words, surrounding yourself with people you want to emulate. Collaboration. There's a synergy. When two people with complementary skills work together, they can do a lot more. People skills, very, very important. The reason people are largely hired for jobs and are promoted is people skills, not technical skills. Interviewing, the ability to interview and get a job. Problem solving, goal setting, very, very important. I love the quotes, unless it's on paper, it's vapor. Or if you can think it, ink it, so to speak. Ask for things you want. Very highly successful people in our research ask for things they wanted. Serve others. Focus on your contributions. And there's a boomerang effect that comes back to you. Dealing with setbacks. I oftentimes tell young people, college students, setbacks line the road to success. If you're experiencing setbacks, you know you're on the right road. The patience of virtue, persistence and patience. The potency of preparedness. Every time I give a talk, and I'm sure you do for your radio and podcasts, you prepare. You look at what you got to do. The keys to writing and speaking. Also, organizational membership. I got a great deal out of being a member of several different professional organizations. And the number one factor, taking action. Tommy Hopkins, a top sales leader in the world, has what he calls the law of Goya. Get off your ass and move in the direction of stuff that you want. It is so true. The famous author, Art Williams, said it's not what you say you're going to do in life, it's what you actually do. So this book addresses many, many of those issues.
And so when you mentioned some of these soft skills that are critical to finding success in life, whatever that definition is for you, or whatever those goals are that you're setting, what are some of those skills that you believe that young men and women that are entering their careers now, that, or even those that are established in their careers but are hitting kind of a standstill, what do you believe among those soft skills and among those major skills that are critical to success that these people may be missing and could be useful to them to read something like GPS for Success and learn some of those skills?
Well, some of the key books that I read over the years that I'd highly recommend beyond academics are The Secret by Rhonda Byrne, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, The Success Principles by Jack Canfield, and our new book, GPS for Success, Skills, Strategies, and Secrets of Superachievers. You said to me, Barry, give me the foundational factors. I think there are 4. Basically, number 1, If you want to do great work, you got to love what you do. So find out what you love to do and get somebody to pay you to do it. Steve Jobs said the only way to do great work is to love what you do. Secondly, recognize that to a large extent, we make our own destiny. I read a great book by Mark Myers years ago called How to Make Luck. And what he says, and I think it's very true, is 95% of things that happen to you, Tyler, happen because of things you did or didn't do. Number 3, take 100% responsibility for your life. Those people who take 100% responsibility are invariably the super achievers. A student one time came up to me and said, Dr. Franklin, you know the 10 most powerful 2-letter words? And I said, I didn't. And she said, if it is to be, it is up to me. And I think that is so, so true. And finally, focus on serving others. A lot of young people worry about making a big salary and a house and travel and so on and so forth. And I say you're focusing on the wrong end of the scale. Focus on your contributions and the rewards will come. I love the quote by Tolstoy, who once said, we love people not for what they can do for us, but for what we can do for them. It's the fundamental ingredient of success. And then if you were to say to me, well, give me some more specifics, let me give you my top 10 if we've got the time.
Yeah,
can I do that? Okay. Number 1, look for the good in people and situations. Tyler, if I'm interviewing you and I ask, how's Oakland University or how's your current job? And you say, well, it's really lousy, they aren't good. The interview's over. I don't want you. The thing is, you say, I love where I'm at, but moving to Beaumont or whatever can take my career to a new step. Focus number 2 on the law of attraction. Believe, act, and achieve. Believe, take action, and achieve. Number 3, program your GPS. In other words, set goals in writing. Number 4, take action, just do it. As I said, Tommy Hopkins said the law of Goya, get off your butt and move in the direction of your goals. Number 5, recognize that setbacks line the road to success and that persistence pays. This latest book that we're talking about, Tyler, I want to say it quietly, but I got turned down by 100 publishers before. A small publisher in a small city, you may have heard of it, called New York, New York. Productivity Press said, we'll publish your book. So never, never give up. Number 6, ask for things you want. Reject rejection. You want to get on a committee, you want to do this, call the people and say you're interested in volunteering, you're interested in helping out. I can't tell you the number of successful people I've talked to. I said, how'd you get on that committee? They said, I called the person in charge and asked. Number 7, become a master communicator. There are good data to suggest the bigger your vocabulary, the better speaker you are, the better writer you are, the better you're going to move in your career. The greater number of words you know, the more likely you are to be highly successful. Number 8, power of associations and collaborations. I tell young people, find out the stars in the field, and if you can work with them, even just an internship at no salary, it's priceless experience. Surround yourself with stars. I've been at Beaumont 37 years and have surrounded myself with people who have skills and abilities I don't have, and they make me look good, and I thank them wholeheartedly. You want to double or triple your productivity. Work with others. That book you mentioned is my 27th book. It took the longest ever to write it, almost 4 years. Many of my other books were with 2 or 3 other people, where you take a book this thick and you only have to do this much work, a third if you're doing it with other people. So it's tougher to do things on your own. One other thing, and there's a great analogy. I always watch the Budweiser commercials around Christmas time. You see those big Clydesdales. What many people don't realize, Tyler, is that one Clydesdale can pull 8,000 pounds. You take 2 Clydesdales, put them together, it's not 16,000 pounds, it's 24,000 pounds. And 2 Clydesdales working together who've been trained to move together simultaneously can pull 32,000 pounds, 4 times the weight of any one. People are the same way. People working together can accomplish phenomenal things. Number 9, people skills. The main reason people advance in their careers is they've got good people skills. They take an interest in others. They're people of integrity. In other words, doing what you say you're going to do. They make people feel important. Danny Myers, the owner of Shake Shack, was interviewed and said, Mr. Myers, how have you been so successful? You're worth $500 million. He said, every person I see, I pretend they have a sign around their neck that says, make me feel important. Try to exceed people's expectations. And finally, the law of sow and reap. Be willing to pay the price. I had a student from Oakland University looked at my edits on something she asked me to look at, and she said, wow, you made this sound so much better. How often are you doing this writing and this editing? You must have some experience. I said, only on the days I eat. That seemed to get the message across to her that, yeah, you got to spend a lot of time. In fact, Malcolm Gladwell, writer of Outliers, said you got to devote 10,000 hours on something before you really become a good broadcaster, a good writer, a good speaker, whatever. Last but not least, it pays to be just a little bit better. And I tell students this: if you're thinking about the master's, stop thinking about it and take action and get that master's, get the certification, and so on and so forth. 2002, I started looking at the PGA Tour, Professional Golf Association Tour. #1 golfer in the world, Tyler, was a guy by the name of Tiger Woods. You may have heard of him. Averaged 68.56 shots. The #10 golfer in the world that year was Sergio Garcia. He averaged 70 shots. What does that mean? It means Tiger Woods, #1, would beat the #10 golfer by an average 1.5 shots. It pays to be a little bit better. It's as simple as that. By the way, as an aside, Tiger Woods made $6.6 million on a tour that year. Sergio Garcia, $2 million. So 6.6 versus 2 million. But there was a company in 2002, you may have heard of them, called Nike, who gave Tiger Woods a $60 to $80 million contract, because he was the #1 golfer. I tell students and young colleagues, anything you can do to make yourself a little bit better, do it. Those are the keys.
We're joined by Dr. Barry Franklin from Oakland University's William Beaumont School of Medicine. He's also the author of GPS for Success: Skills, Strategies, and Secrets of Superachievers, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. Dr. Franklin, this book is great for anybody. These strategies can be used for anybody at any level of life, at any level of their career, whatever career field they're in, but specifically for those who are just graduating, whether it be high school and moving on to college, or a trade, or some other venture in their life, or those graduating college, or just looking for a change in their life. For those groups of people, why is this book something that can be a very, very helpful tool for them as they are reshifting their journey or forming their journey at its early point?
Yeah, it's a great question. In many respects, I could have named this book, Tyler, The Missing Course, because for the most part, I was in physiology. We got a lot on heart rate and energy metabolism and caloric expenditure, but we didn't get much on interpersonal skills and collaboration and goal setting and creating a synergy via collaboration and so on and so forth. So in many respects, this course fills a missing void. One of the few courses I taught was at Central Michigan University, and I taught this course over a 5-year period. It was a 1-credit course. It was on a Friday and Saturday, and the students invariably rated it among the highest rated courses around. I'll also say I'm very proud of the fact that President Peskovitz took an early look at the book and gave us a glowing recommendation. So those are things I'm particularly proud of, and we hope that this can be a useful resource for students. To me, it's the perfect graduation gift, to be quite frank with you.
Dr. Franklin, if people are interested in reading the book, they're interested in purchasing the book, where are some of the places that they can find GPS for Success?
Probably the easiest thing, Tyler, is to simply go to my website. My website is all lowercase, www.drbarryfranklin.com. And there's information on GPS for Success. There's information on the student comments from Central when they took the course. And there's information. There's 3 different options for ordering the book. The best is a company called Healthy Learning out in California, who bought a bulk order and is selling them at a discounted rate.
Dr. Franklin, but before we let you go, another couple minutes left before we'll have to say goodbye today. At this time, after all this knowledge you've collected, after all the studying you've done of successful people in a variety of different fields, at this time, what is your #1 piece of advice for anybody at any level of life that's looking to achieve a goal or to achieve a certain level of success, whatever that is defined for them, your #1 tip among all things you've learned that they need to be following in their life, that they need to change in their life today to achieve that success?
I think the key thing is a take-home message that I saw, Tyler, on a car bumper sticker that said, "You are your own fortune cookie." To a large extent, you make your destiny. Don't blame the professor, don't blame the administrator, don't blame the manager or the director. You got to find the right path. And if you're persistent, if you're positive in your interactions with other people, if you read and follow what we have in this book, I think you'll be eminently successful.
Dr. Franklin, thank you so much for joining us.
Tyler, pleasure chatting with you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Appreciate having you on the program. Dr. Barry Franklin from Oakland University's William Beaumont School of Medicine joining us on the Michigan Megacast. That is going to do it for this Wednesday edition of the Megacast. Of course, you can find all of our programs and each individual interview on our website at civiccentertv.com/Megacast. Those links to the stations right there at the top so you can learn more about everything that they're doing in the other 22 hours of the day, Monday through Friday, that they're not doing us live or live to tape on the program. In addition, you can find all of our programs on demand, including the interviews from today's show. Sometime mid to late afternoon, usually. Those are uploaded for any given show. CivicCenterTV.com/Megacast. On our local news page at CivicCenterTV.com, keep up to date on everything making headlines all across the Great Lakes state on COVID-19 and much more in all regions of Michigan. And find those links to the CDC, the MDHHS, and the Oakland County Health Division's COVID-19 specific web pages right there, front and center at the top of the page, CivicCenterTV.com/local-news. Big thank you to our crew that makes this program possible 5 days a week for 2 hours a day. Calvin Brown, our technical director, with me for the full marathon of the Megacast here in the studio, along with Jared Clark, our Zoom producer at the office of My Michigan TV, and Larry Nyland, the king of television, our producer each and every day on the program. On My Michigan TV, coming up next, it is Steve Lato live from 12 noon to 1 o'clock, followed by Larry and Ronnie live. In the meantime, we will return on Thursday morning with a new edition of the Oakland County and Michigan Megacasts.